now I'm going to show you how to do a border that is actually an equilateral border. The first thing that we need to do is go into View, and we actually want to see our rulers, and our rulers are showing. So these are our rulers right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use these rulers to create a box that goes right around the inside of this. So that is a very equal box. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click the auto select, making sure, or excuse me, click the move tool, making sure that the show transform tools are selected, and I'm going to use the subtract from selection, and I'm actually lining it up with right here and right there. So I'm looking at what I'm doing pretty carefully, and I'm going to click and drag, and I'm watching where that's going so I make sure that I get the exact same thing over here that I have over there. And it's a tiny bit off, but I'm going to go with it. Then what I do, so I have now selected within, I've basically made a little border. And my border is, I'm just going to mess around with it a little bit here so it looks fairly even. So I made the border pretty much the same way that I showed you guys how to do. Oops, I didn't even realize this was half of my thing. Alright, so this is why it's good sometimes to fit on screen, because I didn't realize I had all of this space up there. So I'm going to say okay. Now that I know I have all this space up here, I'm going to move some things around. So I'm going to move this type up here, and I'm going to move the is. Actually, this is kind of a good thing. I'm going to deselect. I'm going to move the is over here, and that actually fills my screen a little bit better. Now I can see there's like a little spot down there, so I'm going to fix that by dragging this a little bit down because I don't want to see any spots there. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit return, and I'm going to add a new layer. I want this layer to be all the way down at the bottom because I want this to be basically my background layer. So I'm going to drag this all the way down, all the way down. And unfortunately I have not been naming any of these, so I'm going to just collapse these effects. So you can collapse your effects just by clicking on this little thing here, and it collapses everything. So I'm going to see what everything is. So that's my border. I'm going to go and I'm going to name this border, or you can also call it a frame, border frame. I don't need to name the types. This is my pink blob, pink blob. This is my purple, purple blob, and this is my multi-colored blob. Alright, and this is my background. So for my background, I'm going to do something that I think is super cool. I'm going to pick two colors here that coincide with what I have going on here. So I'm going to pick, I think I'm going to pick a green, and I think I'm going to pick a black. And then I'm not going to do anything here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to filters, and I'm going to go to distort, or actually it's not under distort, it's under render. Excuse me. So go under render, and I'm going to do clouds. What that does is that creates clouds out of these two colors. which is super cool. Now I notice, now that I've gotten a different layer in here, I notice that my cool is a little too close to the edge, so I'm going to move it a little bit. If I need to make it smaller, I will. I also notice now that there's some weird kind of ghosting there, so I'm going to figure out where that's coming from by turning the layers off. Okay, I just found it. It's on this layer. So I'm going to actually erase that by clicking on the eraser, making sure I'm on the eraser tool. And I'm going to go back to the default eraser, make sure it's not too big, and I'm going to just erase this. Now, it's not erasing fully because the opacity is at 59, so I'm going to raise the opacity, and now it is going to erase really well. But I want to make sure that I don't erase my design. So let me move this, and I see some more there. I'm going to go back to the eraser tool, and sometimes this happens when you create something and you move it around. What happens is it kind of gets a ghosting of the actual selection that you had. All right, I think that looks pretty good. So now I'm going to move my things around so they look good. I might even want to make this one kind of small. It looks a little like an 8, doesn't it? Just giving me an idea. All right, this one I really like how that one is with the type, so I'm going to leave that one there. And this one, I personally think it'll look really good down here by the cool part. So I'm going to move it down here, and I think I'm going to spin it around. So this is how you spin it around. As long as you have this bar on here, which is a transform bar, you wait until your mouse turns into this little arrow, and then what it's doing is it's moving around this anchor point. Now I can move this anchor point anywhere I want. If I wanted to move around the center, I move the anchor point, and then it will now move around the center of that. I know I'm telling you guys a lot of stuff, so again, I do not anticipate that you're going to learn all this stuff. So here is my type and shape project. So your assignment is to create a type and shape assignment that has many of these parameters in it.